Greetings. This is text from thctrust.org. Let me read this definition for you real quick. This is from a Black's Law Dictionary, 1891, and I'm just giving you the year because unfortunately I don't know the edition. If you would like a copy of this dictionary, it's in PDF format, and you can download it at www.thctrust.org. But I want to read the definition for nation, and this is what it meant in 1891, and it's very relevant because I'm going to talk about the United States Constitution and a certain treaty, and I want you to get an idea of what a nation is so I can bring my point and you will better understand it. And again, although a lot of this specifically applies to Black American people, I highly encourage everyone to pay attention to this because I'm certain in the few in a few months to come, and perhaps maybe in the years to come, this is going to become very important as the United States tries to, or excuse me, I shouldn't say the United States, but as the people here try to piece together their country and establish some forms of leadership and to get the wheels rolling. Anyways, a nation is a people or aggregation of men existing in the form of an organized jural society, inhabiting a distinct portion of the earth, speaking the same language, using the same customs, possessing historic continuity, and distinguished from other like groups by their racial origin and characteristics, and generally, but not necessarily, living under the same government and sovereignty. Besides the element of autonomy, or self-government, that is, the independence of the community as a whole from the interference of any foreign power in its affairs or any subjection to such power. That's enough of it. You can go read it, like I said, but what I wanted to point out is that a nation has historic continuity, as you can see in this definition, which I'll highlight right here. It has historic continuity. And also, something else is key is besides the element of autonomy or self-government, that is, the independence of a community as a whole from the interference of any foreign powers in its affairs. So, I'm bringing this thing up, what is a nation, because you guys heard me ask, and I'm going to ask the question again to all people that claim to be African American, what is your nationality? And some people realize again that the term African American, which is not even it's about maybe 30-year-old term, is not a nationality. And I think more people are waking up to the fact that if they don't declare a nationality, they don't have one. Now, some people will say, well, it really doesn't matter. That's what some people think in the back of their mind, or they're like, I'll think about that later. And unfortunately, a lot of those people are too far wrapped up into their 9-to-5s, and they're spinning the little hamster wheel, caught up in a rat race. And unfortunately, by the time they realize that they should have some form of nationality so that they can have some form of recognition, by the time they realize it, unfortunately, it might be too late. Corporations don't have rights. They don't have treaty-based rights. They don't have constitutional-based rights, bills of rights. They don't have human rights. And if you have not made any kind of disconnect between your corporation or your straw man or whatever they want to call it and the commercial system, if you have no identity or no nationality outside of the commercial system, then laws don't apply to you. And maybe people don't understand that. What do you mean laws don't apply to corporation? Well, technically, laws do apply to corporations, but corporations don't have the protection of law. That's probably what I should have said, right? And if your only existence in this world is through a corporation, and you have no concept of yourself as being differentiated or apart from the corporation, and you have nothing to establish that to be so except for, oh, I know who I am, then when the corporation comes to the end of life and cease to exist, which seems like it might be happening, then everything in it will also cease to exist. I'm not trying to scare you. I just really want you to wake up and start thinking about putting your affairs into effect. You need to get out the mind frame of thinking, oh, well, the government's going to take care of me. Because if you think like that, they will. Now, one of the greatest benefits of being a Moorish America, excuse me, one of the greatest benefits of being a Moorish American that I find today is the fact that we have a peace and friendship treaty between the Kingdom of Morocco and the United States of America that was signed 225 years ago, in the same year that the United States Constitution was established. Now, why is that important? Well, first let's talk about why is it still valid, because a lot of Moorish Americans and then a lot of black people, I've received a lot of emails since the first time I talked about this. They say, well, that's not valid. They don't recognize it. Well, there's a lot of things that are not going to be recognized because no one's here trying to help you when you're not trying to help yourself. You have to know how to use these tools. Nobody's going to teach you how to use them. It's a part of government. It's a part of sovereignty. It's a part of being responsible and learning how to find the solutions. But I will tell you, the treaty is very much valid, and the treaty very much offers you protections in international law, but you need to learn how to use them. And I'm going to make some suggestions for everyone that's listening to this so that maybe it'll help you learn how to use these. But first, let's talk about the validity of the treaty. And I'm reading from Article 6, Section 1 of the United States Constitution of 1787, which happens to be the Constitution that was established by Moorish Americans and the Americans in the Republic. And Article 6, Section 1 says, all debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. So, being that this U.S. Constitution is from 1787 and the Peace and Friendship Treaty is also from 1787, prior to the United States Constitution, I believe, that lets you know right here that it shall be valid, shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. So there should be no ambiguity there. That is written black and white. Another benefit of being a Moorish American to whom the Peace and Friendship Treaty applies to is it offers you some protection from being classified as either a domestic terrorist or a sovereign citizen or any other classification that has been used in the past to deprive someone from their rights. Because a treaty is in the international law body of instruments, which means when there is a claim or a particular issue before a court and it deals with individuals of varying nationalities, then the jurisdiction of the court really comes into question. And the way I would suggest you use these items is if someone's trying to adjudicate a claim against you in a state court or a magistrate court or some other form of a lower court that's not either a Supreme Court or perhaps a federal court, then you may want to make sure you file in your Moorish American Declaration, your Sovereign Indigenous Declaration, accept for value and file into the record the United States Constitution, and your Peace and Friendship Treaty. Accept it for value and also file that into the record. Now, I want to touch on this too. It's evidence that matters in court, okay? And something I've recently learned is just accepting your documents for value or just filing notarized documents, including declarations, into a record jacket of a case does not make it a part of the evidence. in order to make it a part of the evidence, it must have been previously filed in a record somewhere, preferably the district court, preferably at the federal level. So it would be wise, if you have the funds and you have the time, to take, to file all these documents ahead of time and just have them stored, know the deed book in every place where it's recorded, so that it's already a part of public record. Because, and this applies across the board, not just for what we're talking about, but for mortgages and other things of the such. You want your documents to already be filed somewhere in the public record. So that way, when you're using them in a case, you get an official certified copy of what's already in a public record, and then you file it into the record jacket of the case, and now it becomes part of the evidence. Because otherwise, if it's not already a part of the public record, it's just hearsay. And that's something recent that I also learned, and I'm sharing it with you guys. So again, you take these documents, you accept them for value, you file them in your local county or preferably at the district, and they become a part of the public record, so that your status and your law and your treaty is acknowledged and recognized in your local area. You see how that works? And then if somebody's trying to bring that claim against you, you request on the record that the court state its jurisdiction. Because from my experience and from my study, it's not a small minor violation to violate international law and treaties, because that's what holds the world together. And I don't think that many judges and magistrates want to take the risk of getting involved in violating someone's internationally protected rights, or violating their rights as protected under a nation. Now, a lot of people have seen different things happen and they say, oh no, well, I've seen different. But I want to remind you, if your status and your standing is not correct, they'll do anything to you. You understand what I'm saying? If you're still being looked upon as a corporation, yes, they will violate your rights. But I want to express to you that this is much higher ground you're standing on when you use these tools and you use them the right way. This is a clear count for treason. See, the articles in this peace treaty are the basis for your counterclaim, because you don't want to just go into court saying you can't do this to me because I have a treaty and this is my status and my standing. You also have to do your mandatory counterclaim.